Tonight, we're going to talk about the pathway, the different phases of that pathway, things about nomination process and criteria, player eligibility. And throughout tonight, any questions at all, just please use the Q&A function. That should be at the bottom of your screen. For those of you who are new to Zoom, bottom of your screen, type in any question you want. If it is a question that we feel the rest of the group would benefit from, we may make the answer public. If not, we'll just private that question. But please fire in any questions that you like. We'll try and pull together a frequently asked questions document at the end of this evening, and that will be circulated and put online as well. Okay, so just a brief overview of the pathway. Some exciting programs in place, and we are very much talking about the beginning of the player pathway. So this player development programs, which has got some tweaks based on previous seasons, but focuses on those two age groups, under 16s and under 18s. So just a heads up to begin with, the nominations for these programs are going to open tomorrow. They're going to go live. The nomination process we will share with you later on in the presentation. Details will come up soon. What the nomination process is for is a series of programs, and these programs are delivered in conjunction or in collaboration between the rugby development team and high performance team, Robbie's team. First thing is an assessment day, which we'll talk about more in a moment with Mark, which leads into a regional game series at under 16 and under 18. That we then have a player development hub program. That player development hub program is delivered for players involved. All nominated players will be involved in that in March and April. And we have an under 16 performance program, which Robbie will give us a bit more information on in a moment. So lots of opportunities for girls at 16s and 18s to get involved. We'll focus on the 16s pathway at the moment. There was a subtle change to this diagram for 18s, which we'll explore afterwards. But I'm going to hand over to Mark, who's just going to brief us on for that red and purple box on your screen about the assessment day and the regional game series. Over to you, Mark, and I'll just ping up the bit of information and I'll fire on when you give me the nod.
Thanks, Neil, and thank you for everyone's time tonight. Hopefully my internet remains stable, so I apologize if I cut out. If I do cut out, Robbie, the heat's on you to fill some of the gaps if I become a little bit crackly. I'm really excited to provide some detail about the regional game series and what that looks like. It's a game changer in the girls space, and it's really exciting to be rolling it out in 2023. Further on in the presentation, Neil will provide more detail on the nomination process, but to bring to life the regional game series and how it connects into the player development hubs, it starts with regional assessment days on the 8th of January. There will be regional assessments run in all 5 of the Scottish Rugby regions with consistent delivery in all of them locations. From them assessment days, we will look to identify individuals to progress into regional teams. Regional teams means there will be an under 16s and under 18s regional team in each of the 5 regions within Scotland. So for example, in Glasgow South, there will be a Glasgow South under 18s and a Glasgow South under 16s. Those regional teams will participate in 5 rounds of fixtures throughout late January and throughout February as well. So for example, it may be Glasgow South at home hosting Caledonia Midlands. That program will be delivered by performance coaches and will be supported by the Game Development Network and potentially some volunteers or development officers in that space as well. It will be predominantly game-based, so selected individuals will still train with their local club or school, and there'll be a few opportunities for them teams to train together as groups. The fixtures will be based on full field and full team regional fixtures as per the girls' AGLVs. Now, in addition to the regional game series, it extends further than just under 18s and under 16s. because these fixtures will be scheduled in conjunction with cross-regional girls festivals for all under 18 to under 12 girls across the country. And them festivals will be brought to life in the coming weeks as women's and girls regional leads confirm venues and workforce. So what that looks like, Caledonia North may host Caledonia Midlands for some regional girls fixtures at under 18s and under 16s level. But alongside of that, there'll also be a festival for all of the other under 12s to under 18 girls in both regions to come together for some really exciting cross-regional gameplay, providing significant variety and excitement. What that will also do, it will help clubs with the current challenges in the girls space around the capacity of coaches, around travel and logistics. So your club and the players from your club will all be in the same location doing slightly different things. You may have some of your under 18s and under 16s involved in them regional games. You may have other under 16s involved in some flexible gameplay with other players from your region and other girls from another region. And then your under 12s and under 14s will also get to access varied gameplay, progressing from what you've done within each of your sub-regions for the first part of the season. A couple of key objectives of the girls regional game series before I pass over to my colleague Robbie. It's to provide a competitive development environment that improves both the readiness and the transition of youth female players from the club community school game into the Futures program. It will also increase opportunities for aspirational young female players to access enhanced gameplay. And with the bigger picture of the festivals, it will provide positive experiences for all youth female players, regardless of region, club, and ability to access gameplay that is both meaningful and ultimately will help improve participation as well. And at that point, the program then connects quite nicely into the next step of the pathway, which is into the performance program that Robbie will provide some details on.
Thanks, Mark. Great to see so many people on. Geez, even a couple of players. So definitely a load of people that I know and some that I don't. So for those that don't know me, I'm Robbie Lavery, Performance Pathway Manager at Scottish Rugby. And essentially my role is to manage the performance section of the women and girls game that sits underneath the national team, essentially. So I work from just below the national team right down to this program that connects rugby development, so our local rugby infrastructure, into our performance pathway. And Mark's touched on a lot of stuff there, which is hugely exciting for us. He said game changer, and it's probably thrown about quite a lot, but actually this program will be for girls in Scotland, definitely for those that have a desire to progress their rugby and see how far they can get. Mark also touched on a little bit around the purpose of the program. So what are we looking to do? What are we trying to achieve from the program, and what are we going to offer young female players that have aspirations to progress their rugby? But it's also good to highlight there that it's not just about players, it's also about coaches and match officials who we can give additional opportunities to then progress on a pathway into the next level of the game. From our perspective, so looking at the lens from a performance manager, the programs are really essential to bridge that gap between our domestic club competition and our national age grade programs. So I don't think it's a secret to anybody here that we've had some significant challenges around the step up from our club and domestic game into a national age grade program, which historically has been the under 18 program. This competition or this program will bridge the gap between that domestic club competition and our national age grade program by creating this middle layer for players with potential. Mark chatted around the assessment day, and we'll go into a little bit more detail further down. So what that'll allow us to do really is, those players that are from smaller clubs, so maybe numbers that aren't so big as other clubs in the country, but you might still have players with really high potential. They still get an opportunity to enter national age grade rugby, but also to play 15 aside before they have to then nominate into or get selected into trial for ours. Positional alignment. So some people on this call will be from clubs or coach at clubs where numbers are really small, and therefore like players really haven't had an opportunity to explore different positions. Instead of that conversation happening through the nomination and assessment into national age grade, now we can have those really awesome conversations with the players before at a regional game level, where they can explore that position where we think that they may have much more potential in a really cool environment against other players, and experience that within a 15 on 15 gameplay alongside our AGLVs. That kind of leads us onto this under 16 performance program. So anybody that had sight on the strategy would have seen this this section. So it's, from our perspective, adds another layer to our performance program, so we can start to see and work with players at a younger age. Traditionally, it was straight into under 18s, and that was our entry point into our national age grade programs. Now we're going to cast the net further down the chain so that we can start to see, develop, and work with players at an under 16 level, who will then participate in this under 16 performance program. It's not a national age grade program, so it won't be Scotland under 16. All right, it's going to be an internal Scotland-based program where we can support the development of a larger pool of players, so circa 40 players, who will get performance coaching on a weekend basis through a full day of performance coaching, culminating in an internal fixture. So those 40 players will play a game against each other. And then that'll also then knock on to the following season's selection into regional performance delivery and skills programs.
Amazing. Thanks, Robbie. Brilliant. And we'll come on to the under 18 pathway in a moment. A lot of similarities, but a couple little tweaks. From a player development hub perspective, so the orange box at the bottom there, you'll see some lines dotting around on the screen, but in essence, all players nominated to go to the regional assessment day in January, those who aren't selected, so roughly 100 players will be selected for the regional game series. Those who don't make that from the assessment day will still be invited to take part in the PDH program in March and April. So still a play opportunity for those. Those players who don't progress from the regional game series into the performance program will again still be invited to the PDH program. And the PDH program, in essence, for those who haven't been involved, is a program that's delivered in the regions via hubs, hence the name. Player Development Hub program. Roughly around about 10 girls hubs will take place and be delivered by our regional teams throughout that March and April window. Training, that'll include training sessions as well as gameplay opportunities. So again, another really good development opportunity to develop players across all areas of our country. Different structures in place for different parts of the country because of the regional needs, but that program will still offer in the region of 8 contact points throughout March and April in the form of training and gameplay. So I think a few people have commented, really exciting program and pathway in place. This is the first season that a couple of these elements have been in place. So we are certainly excited by it, but understand that you know, there will be teething challenges with it, and we'll look to continue to grow this as the seasons progress. Under 18 pathway, so just looking at the next age group, and we'll come on to nomination criteria, etc. in a moment, very much looks the same. So nominations open tomorrow into a regional assessment day or days, game series again, player development hub again, and really, Robbie, probably just for you to come in here, the difference being is this, rather than a under 16s performance program, there's actually an under 18 Scotland women's age grade team. So I'll just flick through and leave that on screen if that's okay, Robbie, for you to have a little talk through. Mate, you're on mute. Sorry, mate.
Just unmuting myself. You think by now from the 100th time I'd get used to it. But no, look, so the difference is pretty simple. One is the under 16 program is an internal Scottish Rugby performance program. So they don't play international age grade fixtures. They'll be playing an internal fixture against each other. This program at an under 18 will be. So it'll be a national age grade program, Scotland under 18s, who will then train as a team selected through the under 18 regional game series, culminating in a 10-day festival at the under 18 Six Nations Festival. This year will be held at Wellington College in England in April.
Great, Robbie. Thanks so much. That's I think it's pretty much the main difference. Mark, anything to come in on the back of that at 18s level? Anything different?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Just a quick point in regards to under 18s. We're aware that player numbers at under 18s level remains a challenge, hence why we made changes to the under 18 aspiring leagues and national leagues earlier in the season. Ultimately, if this means that every under 18 female player across the country is involved in the regional game series initially, that's only a good thing for these players to be able to access and progress to full field, full team rugby. Under 16s will probably require more of an assessment process on the 8th of January, just because there is significantly more teams and more players at that level. And we need to start this program somewhere. So if in year one at under 18s level, we need to provide a little bit of flexibility over if there is a large group of numbers within a certain region, balancing out some other regions, especially when it comes to some things that are specific. Ultimately, at under 18s level, based on the numbers that we've seen on the ground over the course of this season, we want as many under 18 players involved in this program as possible. So I certainly encourage club coaches, when Neil touches on the nomination process, to nominate as many of your under 18s that may be excited by this program as possible. And likewise with potentially under 16s as well. This is why we're doing the assessments across 5 regions consistently. So even in some of our regions where we have got really strong under 16s numbers, it's not an excessive amount of numbers at an assessment day that we couldn't manage and let everyone enjoy that initial process. And the assessment day will be made up of skills and drills and games and lots of exciting elements where, regardless of a player's level, they're going to get something enjoyable out of it, and then either progress to the regional game series or stay involved by the access to the festivals on the same dates and in the same locations as their teammates that may be a slightly different level to them.
Thanks, Mark. Brilliant. And thanks, Robbie. Mark, just one question that's come in around about the under 18 regionals, probably similar for the 16s regionals, is just around about training. Is there training in the regional game series? And if so, where? But I wonder if you could just maybe go over that point again for those who missed it.
Yep. So after the assessment day on the 8th of January, week commencing the 9th of January, there will be, as appropriate, outcomes and letters sent to successful players. That would allow for regional team training sessions on the 15th of January before the game started on January the 22nd. And then within the 5 rounds, with there being 5 regions, at any one time, there will be a region that has a bye weekend. And that also creates the opportunity for an additional training session. To take that many players out of the club and school game and isolate them for additional training sessions on top of games on a Sunday would potentially have a negative impact on the quality and participation at club level. So this is predominantly game-based for the girls. So they'll still be able to train in their local club environments and schools on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and then they'll come together as a regional team on a Sunday to play them fixtures. So the actual preparation is going to be limited, which hopefully allows for some quite open and creative rugby being played on the Sundays, and we'll really focus on players being able to exhibit their skills rather than it becoming a program that is based on lots of training and shapes and structures. There will be a little bit of support there over position specific and appropriate front row scrum situations. But for the large part, we want players to continue to be engaged in their club environments. You can see the progression from the regional game series that is predominantly game-based into the player development hubs, where it's a mix of training with an element of games involved in the program at a different stage.
Great, thanks, Mark. Robbie, anything to add?
No, he's nailed it.
No. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, guys. Okay, we'll just move on then. So eligibility, a couple of questions about eligibility. So each program is a 2-year age group program based on the 1st of January birthdays. So dates are on there on the screen for you to see. And players need to be active, obviously a player for a club or school. I'll come on to nomination, how you nominate in a moment, but when you're nominating for players who have the potential to take part in those programs that we've discussed. Obviously, the first point of call will be that assessment day or days in the regions in January. So I'll talk a little bit in a moment around about how that's going to work. Probably just for the nomination criteria in terms of how to go through this. Robbie, I think we talked about you maybe covering off this. I can't quite remember if we did or not.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, cool.
We definitely did. No, look, just can you go one back, Neil? So,
yeah, of course.
I'm sure we're going to get plenty of questions on the 1st of January as opposed to September, because we know that is different from our like in Scotland based eligibility for our age bandings. And the reason why this is the case is to align to World Rugby standard eligibility, which we are then imposed by bodies further up into our national age grade programs. All right, so the cutoffs will be 1st of January to 31st of December in a 2-year age banding window, and that is aligned to structures that we have further down and further into our national age grade programs, which are imposed by us by big bodies like World Rugby and Six Nations, etc. So that's the reason why. It's not us just picking a number. The second thing on player eligibility and for those players to be active on club or schools, don't stress if you've got players that potentially have high potential, but they're coming brand new into your club, or for whatever reason, they haven't been placed on scrums. Just get in touch, either get them on scrums before you nominate, or get in touch with your regional lead. So the regional manager in your region that is aligned to the women and girls game, and they can help you. The best thing to do is to speak and let us know. Don't sit there and be like, oh, well, like I just won't nominate. Like, we want everybody that feels like they've got potential to progress to nominate. All right. And then we can use our assessments to say, or hang on, actually, you're ready to progress right now, or maybe not this year. Thanks, Neil. This is our GASP section. So some of you may have seen this. It's definitely something that we were talking about through the road shows, and I hope that everybody on this call, or the coaches definitely have been attending the road shows, because they've been brilliant. I've attended 2, and they've been fantastic. GASPs is our the model that we started to use to guide our selection on how we believe a player has talent or not. Right, so these areas of skill development that we are looking for in our players that we think are really, really important. So do they have game sense? What's their attitude like? What's their skill set with ball under pressure? What's their physical ability? And what are their SCOTS skills? So SCOTS is this new acronym that we're trying to really push hard for, and something that we want to see within our game that incorporated a lot of stuff within the session to session. So these are just pillars that we're looking for within our assessment criteria. One thing that I want to stress for people on this call is we don't have to be really good at all of this stuff. Right? There's no expectation from us that you have to hit everything here. But if you feel like you're pretty good at some of this stuff, then definitely we want you to nominate yourself, or for coaches to nominate players within the discussion with their guardians. So it's just a framework that we use really to start to look at who has got potential and who doesn't. don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about this stuff, right? That's our bag. So don't let this be a barrier for you nominating players, even if you feel like they've got one of these that's really, really high. Then really we want you to nominate, and then we can use the assessment days as our barrier to, like, are they ready or are they not?
Amazing, thanks, Robbie. Yeah, and this information here, is part of our blueprint. We are going to have resources on this coming out in the new year, which will be obviously too late for this nomination process. But by all means, get in touch with us around about these areas. As Robbie mentioned, we don't need to be good at everything. We're not looking for anywhere near a finished athlete at all. We want people who show some aptitude or some signs of these principles, and get them nominated. There is no limit to nominations. That's the question that's come in a couple of times tonight about, is there a limit? No, that there isn't. It will likely be a high proportion of your players, certainly under 18, under 16. We want the players nominated who show signs of these GAPS principles, and then let the regional assessment days allow that process to be undertaken, to then filter those players who Robbie and the team feel that can move on to that regional series. But certainly no limit to the number of nominations coming in from our end. Thanks, Robbie. Mark, anything to add to that? All good. Brilliant. Okay, thanks, guys. So nomination process. That QR code there will take you through to the website that is live actually at the moment. Some of the links will go live tomorrow. But that QR code takes you through to the Scottish Rugby website, and the information we've gone through tonight, plus more PDF downloads, will be available on there. To nominate players for this program, you need to go on our Scrum system. Again, further details is available when you click on that QR code. You'll click PDH nominations. Now, this program isn't obviously just nominating for PDH, but that's where you go on Scrums down the left-hand side, and you have until the 11th of December to put your nominations in. What it asks you to do, when you log in as a coach, you will see all your players who are eligible for these programs, and we ask you to then nominate each player who you feel hits those GAPS principles, and we'll ask you to submit some information about their playing positions, a little bit of their history, and also it gives you an opportunity to add in information, almost like a rationale for why you're nominating them. All information is relevant. Rob and I were having a discussion about information that, if they've played other sports at different times of their last few years, if they're involved in other performance programs, all that information is relevant. So kind of an overview of the player and why you think they've got potential to be involved in these programs. We will be communicating actually in December, not January. So the bottom phrase there, just knock that back a month. We'll actually be communicating pretty much immediately after the 11th of December, probably on the 12th or 13th of December, about the next stages of this, because obviously in January the assessment days begin. So information will be communicated in December, likely to be the 12th and 13th, with players, coaches, parents, etc., about the January sessions. Those January sessions will be the kind of stimulus for the rest of the program. Obviously, if we go back to the pathway process again, if we go just put this on screen, there was obviously a few phases to this. So we want to make sure that at each phase players understand their next step, and also for coaches as well, just to manage expectations with players. Not all players are going to make that performance program, or under 18s. Not all players are going to make the under 18s. So we will be providing feedback throughout these programs and pathways to players about what they've done well, what they can work on, and that will obviously help their ongoing development. So that process there, just put that back on screen. That's the nomination process to follow. You can nominate at any point. Once you've nominated a player, you can't edit that information in Scrum. So take your time to obviously put that information in. And just please remember to click submit on scrums when you go to nominate your players. Okay, I'll leave that on screen at the moment. Thanks very much. A couple of questions come in. Robbie's replying to one there. Great. Anything else, Mark, you would like to add at this point?
Thanks, Neil. Just reinforcing the bigger picture that the regional game series is effectively also providing all clubs and schools across Scotland with a post-Christmas fixture card. So on the 22nd and 29th of January and the 5th, the 12th and 19th of February, where there is regional game series fixtures, there will also be festivals run alongside that for all under 12 to under 18 players. So for under 12s and under 14s, it's likely to be everybody. And for under 16s, it will be for those players that, dependent upon the selection process, aren't involved in that regional team. And based on the number of players under 18s, it's likely that nearly all of the under 18s across the country will be involved in the regional game series, which is quite exciting at this moment in time as we continue to grow the game. And then just a quick piece of housekeeping. Hopefully all clubs have received communication from their women's and girls regional lead about the National Aspiring Festival this Sunday at Glenrothes, which is open for all under 18 teams and all under 16s teams who have been playing in the aspiring leagues. Clubs that have been in the national leagues at under 18 and under 16s level would have received separate communication from Sam Parlane, the School and Youth Operations Manager, about next steps in progression to semi-finals. But if you are keen to attend the festival at Glenrothes this Sunday, hopefully you've received communication via your regional lead. Just some communication to myself by Wednesday morning would be greatly appreciated to allow me to bring a schedule to life of who's playing who and who's helping who, dependent upon numbers, etc. But it's been really pleasing to see so many people on tonight's call who have all got a vested interest in the female game. And I'm really excited with my colleagues to bring to life the regional game series post-Christmas, because I think it could be really something quite special. And this may progress to the women's game for season 23-24 as part of that wider national women's and girls strategy.
Great, thanks, Mark. Anything else, Robbie, from your end?
No, great questions. There's loads of really good questions coming through. And look, I appreciate that people want a lot of detail, and hopefully there is some of that tonight. But also there is just a caveat of, like, there'll be loads more information post today where hopefully we can start to answer a load of questions that you may have. This is just a very much starting point of information for everyone.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Robbie. And look, these all these slides will be shared. I'll email everyone who signed up tonight. So fantastic turnout again. Well over 100, which is great. So all the slides will go out to you probably this evening. A few people are asking about the dates, and some of the dates that, Mark, you read out. Will that be available as they're not on the slide? Yes. What we can do is add that to the website for tomorrow, which I think will be obviously useful for people who are nominating. That's no problem at all. Obviously all dates have an asterisk next to them about TBC and subject to change, as we know, but yeah, certainly, and we can share that information with you. Really exciting. And if you have any other questions at all that you may think of as a result of this webinar, please get in touch with any of us, or your regional manager or women and girls lead or PDH lead. Anyone within Scottish Rugby development will either have an answer or at least know someone who will have it. So please feel free to drop us a line. I think that's all for now, unless anyone's got anything as I'm looking at the two of you. You guys okay? Cool. Okay, we've got a couple of questions there that we haven't been able to get round to, but we'll make sure they're kind of put onto an FAQ for tomorrow. And good luck with it, with everything for the rest of the year. Hopefully see some of you obviously at Sunday and some of the finals days coming up. Thanks very much for your time and have a good evening.